All right, folks, we are back with another episode of Let's Talk Trades. Again, I am your host, John Tay Hawkins, and today we don't have any guest, but we do have a topic that I did want to clear up. And this all came about. So I do have an account on X, formerly Twitter, and I post my same content and clips from the show and some of the things I see, I reshare, and it was a post from Black millionaires, and the title of the post said that high school students graduating with $70,000 job offers, after learning trades while in school and skipping college, and there were hundreds of reposts and different comments on it, and there was a lot of negative comments for this post. And I don't think that everyone realizes how much money can be made from the skilled trades. And I did want to clear up some myths just from my personal experience and some of the things that I've researched and some of the things that's happened, recently with the skilled trades. So again, it's a very high demand for the skilled trades, and what we have is a when there's a high demand and a low supply, you have to raise wages. So the thing that some of the biggest misconceptions, about the skilled trades, we'll try to cover today, and hopefully it'll help you change your mind if you're interested in getting into the skilled trades, or your son or daughter asked you about it, and you wasn't 100% sure, you were feeling uneasy. And the biggest thing for me is that I don't have any student loan debt, zero. And I did attend community college, so I have a 2-year degree. And I went back after I was working full time. So I paid for my first year out of pocket. And my second year, I received a full scholarship. So I didn't pay but 1 year for my 2-year degree. And it's 100% possible where you can go to community college and work, full time, and still get a still get an education. So the one of the biggest uh, myths that I've seen is that the trades don't pay well, and it all depends on where you are, what you're doing, how far you're willing to go in the skilled trades. So for myself, I'm licensed. So license is about the highest you can get. You can start your own business. You can pull permits, but I'm licensed as a building contractor. So a building contractor in North Carolina allows you to do any type of residential construction, commercial construction. It also includes institutional construction, and there are limits, but my limit is $750,000 per contract. That's not per year. That's not the maximum I can do, and per quarter or anything like that. That's per contract, and there's a lot of money to be made out in the industry, especially private industry. You have a lot of homes being built. You also have contracts, government contracts, and that was what I started doing after the housing market crash in '08, '07. So I started my business in 2006, right around the time I was graduating community college. And what we see is the breakdown in communication with what these kids can be making, and the premise behind a utility worker or general labor. You can be general labor, but you can progress very quickly in these skilled trades. And, one of the biggest ones is, the union. You're working in the union in any skill trade. The electrical union, the carpenters union. They have heavy equipment operator unions. All of these different unions have their own apprenticeship programs where you're working, getting paid, and getting paid for your education. And you're getting the qualifications to move you into the next step of your career. So you can start off making 25, 26, $27 an hour. But in a few years, you're going to get a step up. And when you become a journeyman electrician, you can be making 60, 70, $80 an hour easy. The some of the average hourly workers as electricians is about $33 an hour. And that does not include overtime. And that does not include benefits. So, the median salary in the US is, I think, between 40 and $50,000. And that might be on the high end. And these tradespeople are making that as their base. And the overtime, it's a lot. So a lot of people making, 60, $70,000 a year as an apprentice. So we're not talking about, just making minimum wage. Is far from it. And when you think about the trades, these guys can make six figures within a year or two. You can come out of college with your degree, 4-year university with your degree, making 80, 90, $100,000. But you have $100,000+ in student loans that you must repay. Tradespeople don't. So that's the big difference between having that 4-year degree and student loans and making a little bit less, but not having that debt as soon as you start your career. So I'm not telling everybody to not go to college, but I'm saying it's a viable option, and that the trades don't make a lot of money. It's just false, 100%. So if you disagree with me, put it in the comments. We can talk. I can give you my side of the argument all day long, because my skills, the things that I learned, the traits that I learned, matriculated to numerous different uh, jobs that I've had, since I've been 18. I turned 45 this year. So I've been in the trades I've been licensed for almost 15 years. And, before that, I was in the trades also. So, and I spent 14 years in manufacturing. So I have a lot of experience that matriculates from the skills that I learned and some of the things that I learned before I went back to school for electrical. So, the next time you hear someone talk about the trades and think that, the trades don't make that type of money, let's let's keep an open mind and try to convince them otherwise. And if you're the person that think the trades doesn't make a money, you can talk to me directly, and we can have that discussion. So, next myth: trades aren't respected. So, this is kind of still there because there's still a stigma behind it. And like I said, I've said it on a couple of my episodes that the 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 running story from guidance counselors back in my era, and in the 90s, was, if you don't get your 4-year degree, you're going to be homeless. And the trades weren't respected. And it's still that way to an extent, but it's not as bad as it was when I was in school. But it's still looked down upon. But what you fail to realize is, when in the middle of summer, when your AC goes down, who's the most important person you're going to call, right? You're going to call that HVAC guy, and he's going to charge your arm and a leg because he's busy, right? So they're respected when you need them, or when a breaker trips in your home or a receptacle burns out. They're respected when you need them, but you're going to pay for them, right? So, one of the things that we talk about is these require skills. Some skills you learn on the job, but skills like electrical is all theory. I had 2 years of physics, if I'm not mistaken, and electrical theory, ACDC. Like, you cannot see electricity; it's all calculations. And if you think that that's not upper level calculations, you're sadly mistaken. And the things we talk about, these guys are masters at their trade, and it takes years to, like, literally years. You become a master in most of the skill trades after 10 years. You can consider yourself a master after so many hours at the in the field. So, we talk about these not being respected, but like I said, we were essential during COVID. So it wasn't too many positions, that were still essential. We have skills that keep America running, plain and simple. I can't explain it enough. And even with what we have with the AI boom and the technology and the race for artificial intelligence, yes, we have tech people. And honestly, with the advent of AI, a lot of those tech jobs are being replaced already. But there's still demand for data centers. And there always will be a demand for data centers because you need data to run AI. So the data centers are booming, which is commercial construction. Who does commercial construction? Tradespeople. And it's a ongoing basis. And you have the big three: Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, and they're building, and Meta, they're building data centers constantly. When I say constantly, I mean constantly. Just about as soon as they're done, they're building another. So there's a lot of skill and that takes to make those plans into reality. Also, to make the plans, to be 100% honest with you. So when you think that maybe that helped change your mind about the respect aspect of it, because like I said, you're going to call one of us when it's something at your home, right? And also, one of the things I talk about when I'm doing an interview is one of the biggest things that I saw when the kids would come to the high school. So we had three high schools at the time, and they would come to take tours. And I would ask them, they would come to the shop, come to the classrooms when I was teaching. And I would ask them, what do you want to do? Where you want to be? I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. And I said, okay, you're gonna make a lot of money as a lawyer. You're gonna make a lot of money as a doctor. You're gonna get your house built, or you're gonna buy one. Oh, I'm gonna build my own. Is you want a big house? How much you gonna spend for your house? I'm gonna pay $1 million for my house. So you're gonna get it built from the ground up? Yeah, I'm gonna get it built from the ground up. Who's gonna build it for you? You just paid me $1 million to build your house. So I made $1 million off of one house. And it starts to hit, and it kind of blows their mind when they see that switch flip, and it starts to make sense that I'm making that money off of one contract, right? They may make $1 million in a year. I'm making that off of one house, right? I can do multiple. I can oversee as many contracts as I want. And that's what, when we think about that respect and the money that the trades can make, that's what I'm referring to. And let's try one more. So I saw one where it kind of ties into what it says there, that the tradespeople, trades are for people who couldn't go to college. And again, that's furthest from the truth, because like I said, if you're in the union, you're going to school. It's basically a university. You're going through college curriculum plus the skill portions. So that's pretty much the difference between, a community college and a trade school and a university. Community college and trade school does the curriculum, but they also have hands-on technical skills. You go to a university and it's going to be all theory. Like I said, the like electrical engineering, majority of the classes are the same as the electrical program, but then you go into theory and you go into sizing and different things of that nature that the electrician doesn't have to do. So that's basically the difference. And you want in electrical, you're doing electrical theory, you're doing AC/DC, you're doing those same load calculations, you're doing whole house calculations, you're doing those same things also with 2 years of physics, but you're taking hands-on courses also. So you're doing the actual wiring, you're doing the motors and controls, you're doing the program logic controls. So you're learning the technical aspects behind it, you're learning the theory, you're learning the calculations, but you're also doing. And that's the biggest difference between the 2 year college and that 4 year university. You're getting the bachelor's degree and you've never touched anything. So, the skill trade saying that it's not for, or it's for people who can't make it in a 4 year university is the furthest from the truth, especially if you're going through a union program or like I said, a trade school or something along those lines. It's the same curriculum. So, I have a lot of friends. I've even had electrical engineers who would call me because they're scared of electricity. How are you? You know the theory behind it, you know the calculations, but they just are scared of dealing with their own electrical. So, the it doesn't matter, the college grad who's making that 150,000 job, but they have 150, $200,000 in student debt. That's not better than the electrical apprentice who's starting at 60, $75,000 a year. Right? That's furthest from the truth. There's no difference in between the two. Both of them are working for a living. So, that's the biggest thing that I wanted to convey with this little small episode. And let's keep the conversation going. If you don't agree, put it in the comments. We'll chat. I'll bring up another episode. I'll bring you on the show if you're capable of holding an interview. I don't have any issues talking about it. That's how firm my beliefs are in the skilled trades and the things that I've seen in my 20 plus years of working in the field. So again, if you have any questions, looking to you want me to pull up any subjects, I have a lot of people that are still my friends that are in the field. Some of the guys I've worked with, I'll talk to my electrician, my HVAC guys, my plumbers. If you want me to bring in someone like that, or just recommend, someone who may want to be on the podcast, and I'll reach out to them. So I can always be reached at jonte@letstalktrades.com. Like, comment, subscribe, share the content. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out and let's continue to talk about it.